Kobolds, the first creature that your level 1 characters are probably going to face, and even at that level, they often come off as laughable creatures and foes at best. But in this video, we're going to show you, the DM, how to breathe a little bit of life into these characters and make them a force to be reckoned with even at some higher levels. So, let's get rolling. Hey everybody, what is up? My name is Mike from D4 Dungeon, helping you get the most out of your Dungeons & Dragons experience. And if this is your first time here and we're just meeting, then consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell down below so that you don't miss a thing. Welcome to our Monster Mondays series, where we take a creature from the monster manual and do a quick tutorial on how you as the DM can make this creature more exciting for your player characters to experience and for you to DM. And the hope is that we'll do it all in less than 5 minutes. So let's get started and start the clock. First things first is let's get through the basics. We're going to pop that stat block up there and take a look at them. And as you can see, these guys don't have a lot going for them. They have low strength, con, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. In fact, the only thing they have going for them is dexterity, and that is the strength that they're going to have to play to as we go through this tutorial. Now, these little dragon guys are only 2.5 feet tall, and even though they're small targets, they're still pretty easy to hit with an AC of 12, and with only an average of 5 hit points. These guys are going to go down pretty quick when your characters start swinging. 3 final things to note when we take a look at this stat block, and that is one, that they have dark vision 60 feet, and that's a good thing because you can also see that they have sunlight sensitivity, which means that they are going to absolutely suck in sunlight or magical sunlight. Ugh. And 3, they have something called pack tactics, which is going to help them down the road in their melee combat, but more on that later. One other important thing to note that was not in the stat block, but which is under the description of the kobold, is that they are tunnelers and trap makers, and that is something that we're going to take a look at as we go through this video. The rest of this video will be divided into 2 sections, the first being playing to the creature's strengths. Obviously, we want to make these creatures appropriately challenging for our PCs. If it's too easy, then they're not going to feel the thrill of the battle. But we also, in the second part, want to take a look at their weaknesses. And once again, not like we want to focus on all the weaknesses, but sometimes in playing to these weaknesses, we build flavor into these monsters that will be the memorable parts for our player characters down the line. So here are the strengths that we're going to focus on when playing our kobolds. First off, these guys have a strong social structure and a devotion to the tribe. 2, they are great with their hands, which means they are tunnelers, diggers, and most importantly, they are trap builders. 3, they're small creatures, which means that we can use this size to their advantage. And 4, these guys are like rabbits. Kobolds will reproduce like crazy, which means that you have a lot of them to throw at your PCs. A strong social structure and a devotion to the tribe means that kobolds are always going to fight as a unified front. You will not see them squabbling with each other for any reason, and when they attack your PCs, it will be en masse, and they will retreat en masse. You will not have a singular kobold launching an attack against any of your PCs. It is always in team. Their ability to tunnel and trap make should be one of your biggest go-tos as a DM playing these guys against your characters. They will litter their tunnels with traps because they know where they are and your PCs will not. Kobolds are also smart enough to realize that they are not going to last very long in a melee combat with PCs or anything else for that matter, so they will always protect their dens with traps all over the place, which means that when your player characters eventually do see the kobolds face to face, hopefully they're softened up enough that your kobolds might stand a chance. And as a side note, if we combine strength number 1 and 2, the first being that they will flee all together en masse, and 2, that they're great at trap building, what we have just created is an ability to lure PCs deeper into their tunnels and through more traps after they've first encountered these kobolds. Now, strength number 3 is a little situational, and it has to do with their size, because sometimes kobolds will just move into a natural tunnel structure, or they might be serving a larger creature, in which case the tunnels that they are inhabiting are designed for medium or larger sized creatures. However, if you want to change it up a little bit, keep in mind that kobolds are great tunnelers and diggers, which means that if they're in their own tunnels that they've made, they are not designed for medium or larger sized creatures. They are made for the tiny 2.5-foot sized kobolds, which means that if they can draw your PCs into the tunnels to have to fight with them, your PCs, who are going to be mostly medium size or bigger, are going to be at disadvantage when fighting your kobolds. So consider using this to your advantage. The fourth strength that we are going to play to with the kobolds is the fact that they reproduce like rabbits, which means that you as the DM have a lot of kobolds that you could be throwing at your PCs. And keep in mind, the kobolds are smart enough to know that they have numbers on their side, and they will use this to their advantage. Kobolds will never start a direct fight with your PCs unless they have at least 2-to-1 advantage and probably closer to 3-to-1 advantage. And Mike, you say, I don't want a total party kill. There's no TPKs that I'm aiming for here. Don't worry about it. You might be sending 15 kobolds against 4 player characters, which might sound like it's going to be a TPK, but keep in mind, they will flee when their numbers fall below 2-to-1 advantage. So your player characters don't have to defeat all 15 kobolds. They really only have to get their numbers down to about 6 or 7 before those little dragon guys are going to be out of there en masse. Which leads us now into their weaknesses, because when these little dragon guys start to flee, they're not really smart enough to realize that they need to disengage from the battle, and so they will just turn and run all together, which means that as they run, they're going to draw attacks of opportunity from all of your PCs, potentially reducing their numbers even more. And while they are smart enough to not attack your PCs unless they have a 2 or 3-to-1 advantage, there are some things that they have in their culture that actually will short circuit all of that, and that is namely gnomes. Kobolds hate gnomes so much that they will attack them on sight, even if it means attacking with inferior numbers. So what is it about those gnomes that the kobolds hate them so much? To make a long story short, the god of the gnomes tricked and imprisoned the god of the kobolds, and apparently the kobolds never forgave them. And another weakness that you might want to play into is the fact that kobolds are a little touchy and sensitive about their lack of height and lack of strength, and they resent the taller and stronger races for having these things. And the last weakness that we need to take a look at was found in the stat block, and that is their sunlight sensitivity. Keep in mind that your kobolds are smart enough to realize that they do not fare well at all in sunlight, and even if your player characters try to draw them out into the sunlight, they will not do it. And if a wizard drops a ball of light and it's sunlight quality, those kobolds will get out of there. They will not stick around. No way, no how. And if you take all of these things into account, I am sure that your kobold encounters will be more memorable and more challenging for your PCs well beyond first level. I hope you enjoyed this Monster Monday look at kobolds. If you have other monsters that you would like us to take a look at and review, then pop those into the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this or other D&D related stuff, then hit the subscribe button over there. And to see some other videos from our playlists, then you can click any of these videos right here. We look forward to seeing you next time.